Happy Melly Monday! Last time I started my Couchcorner makeover by getting a new couch, so now it's time to make some colorful pillows for it. I already made one to see if my pattern works, and I'll take you along for the second pillow. I've got my pattern, well, half of it, but it is symmetrical, some purple and pink yarn, and a 4mm crochet hook. At the bottom of the pattern are 3 rows of pink, so I'll start by chaining 56, skipping the first one and putting 2 single crochets into the next stitch. Then I make 53 single crochets, and into the very end stitch I make 3 single crochets into the same stitch. Then on the back side I make 54 single crochets, so I end up with 112 stitches in total. To close the first round, I find the first single crochet and slip stitch into it. To start the next one, I chain 1, and beginning with the same stitch I just slip stitched into, I make a single crochet into the back loop of each of the 112 stitches. For the rest of the piece, every single crochet will be worked into the back loops only. Then to close the round, I ignore the slip stitch from the previous one, as well as the chain 1. I find the first stitch of the round and slip stitch into it. The third round is the same, so chain 1, and starting in the same stitch, I make 112 single crochets into the back loops. Then ignoring the previous slip stitch and chain, I pick up the first stitch to slip stitch into, but because the next round will be worked in purple, I pick up my purple yarn and slip stitch with that. Then the round proceeds like before, with a chain 1 and 112 single crochets into the back loops, starting at the same stitch. At the end of the round, I'm switching colors back to pink, and for the rest of the pattern, the rounds keep alternating colors. Now here is where it gets interesting. From now on, instead of looking at the row I am crocheting, I am instead looking at the row below in the pattern. In this case, the first 3 stitches of the last row are supposed to be pink, but in my work they are purple, so I'm covering them with what I call a double down. So a double crochet not into the stitch itself, but into the leftover front loop in the row underneath. Again, yarn over once, pick up the front loop from the row underneath and make a double crochet. Same thing for the third stitch, so they now look pink how they're supposed to. The next 23 stitches of the last row are supposed to be purple, and since they already are purple in my work, I can just make 23 single crochets into the back loops. The next stitch needs a pink covering, so I make a double down, followed by 3 single crochets into the back loops and another double down. The next 23 stitches will be single crochets again, followed by 2 double downs. And yes, it is intentionally off center. On the back side of the pillow, I repeat the same pattern again. Then I close the round again with the color change and keep looking at the round underneath the one I am working on. In this case, the first 3 stitches already are the color they're supposed to be, so I make 3 single crochets. Followed by 1 double down, 19 single crochets and a double down. Then another 3 single crochets, a double down, a single crochet and another double down. From now on, the pattern is starting to appear just like on the paper, so it is easy to check for mistakes. The other half is a mirror image, so I just repeat what I did backwards, as well as the same thing again on the back side of the pillow. Like before, the next row looks at the one below, so I start with 3 double downs, then 1 single crochet, 1 double down and 15 single crochets. then 1 double down, 3 single crochets, and so on, following the pattern. The next round follows the same rules, so looking at the one below to see what needs a covering, aka a double down. As do all of the other rounds, so I'm not going to explain it every time. Now at the halfway point, my paper pattern has run out, but because the other half is symmetrical, I can just flip my paper around and continue crocheting. With this pink round, the pattern is finished, and I just have 2 rounds of pink single crochets left. After closing the last round, I'll cut off the yarn long enough to close the pillow. This should be enough. Now I can begin stuffing the pillow, making sure that the corners are filled. Once it is stuffed to about the desired amount, I can close it up by lining up the stitches using the purple corners and then sewing together the back loops of the stitches. When about 2/3 of the seam is closed, I stuff the now closed corner and even out any bumps. Then I stuff it slightly fuller than desired, so I can move the stuffing into the last corner afterwards. Now I can close the pillow up the rest of the way, and to move the stuffing into the corner, I use my darning needle to stick it in and physically push the stuffing into place. And with that, the pillows are finished and can be put on the couch. But they took way more than a week to make, which is why this episode is a bit delayed. So definitely hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more handmade content every Melly Monday, and leave your suggestions in the comments as to what I could add to this corner. I'll see you next Melly Monday.